Can you imagine the clash between rights and authority caught on camera? Here's another question. What happens when a routine traffic stop escalates into a heated confrontation, or when the cops unlawfully arrest a car owner? Here are some scenarios where the actions of the police officers prove to be too much to overlook. Number 1. Teen beaten, spit at by the cops. Over 8 hours of footage was released to the news in Providence, Rhode Island, and the videos revealed the events surrounding the detention of 3 teenage suspects by the police. One of the most concerning videos, now available for public viewing, shows Officer Domingo Diaz allegedly punching a juvenile who was already restrained. The disturbing footage captures when another officer intervenes and pulls Diaz away. There was also lots of crying and moaning in the video. Providence Mayor Jorge Alorza expressed his full support for the officer's suspension, emphasizing the need to remove them from duty, remove their firearms, and hold them accountable for their actions. At the same time, the president of the Providence Police Union, Michael Amandi, released a statement urging a comprehensive investigation before passing judgment on any actions taken during the arrest. The release of these videos marks a significant development in the ongoing investigation, demanding a thorough look at the events that unfolded during the arrest of these 3 individuals. Remember to subscribe to our channel to keep seeing more videos like this. Number 2. Police officer's TikTok video tells drivers to get out of the way. Here's another video from Washington State. A TikTok post has landed a Federal Way police officer, Brianna Strauss, in hot water after a controversial post went viral.
You can't do that, so get the out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get the out of the way.
In this jaw-dropping 38-second clip, Officer Strauss boldly says, "PSA to everyone out there. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a large majority of other officers out there. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get out of the way. I can go 90 miles per hour. You can."
To everyone out there, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a large majority of other officers out there. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the out of the way. Get the out of the way.
But that's not all. After that, she confidently claims that officers will go to great lengths to find a reason to pull someone over if they stay behind them long enough. So, her advice to drivers is simple. You might as well get out of the way.
Behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get the out of the way.
Although the video was taken down from TikTok, it created a massive buzz across the internet after a Reddit user showed a screen recording of the content. There was an immediate fallout, leading to Officer Strauss receiving a 10-hour suspension without pay, symbolizing the loss of 1 full shift. The internet was not pleased to hear the officer's PSA, and many were disgusted by her tone and demeaning attitude. Several people online stated that her behavior of acting untouchable was the reason they had no trust in the police system. Additionally, when people learned of Strauss' suspension of only 10 hours, that only made them more furious. Many called for the officer to be fired instead of being suspended for such a short amount of time. So, the question on everyone's minds is, was this suspension the end of the story? Or will there be more twists and turns to come? What do you think of this officer's actions? Let us know in the comments section. Number 3. Arrogant cops who paid the price. In this video, we're looking at a series of police encounters where officers cross the line and face consequences for their actions. The first incident occurs in Rohnert Park, California, where a man decides to film a police officer driving through his neighborhood. The officer, unhappy about being filmed, also starts filming the man. Tensions escalate when the officer approaches the man and asks him to remove his hands from his pockets.
Go take your hand out of your pocket.
No, sir, I haven't done nothing. I've done absolutely nothing, no.
The man refuses, and the officer pulls out his gun, escalating the situation further.
Put your gun down, really?
Backup is called, but the man eventually complies by placing his phone and keys on the driver's hood. The officer says the man was filming him, and that's the reason he pulled him over.
You really got a gun on me. No. You don't touch me. You don't touch me.
Oh, man. at that address, so I'm gonna be.
You don't touch me.
Hey man,
No, you don't touch me.
when I tell you to take your hand out,
I've done nothing. Nope.
When he asked the cop what he did, the cop, acting all smug and arrogant, said that it was
I'm taking a picture of you.
Take a picture and leave.
Okay. I don't have to leave.
Neither do I.
So, I told you to take your hand out of your pocket. I just want to make sure you don't have a weapon.
You know I don't have a weapon on me.
Okay. I don't know that.
You do that. I'm completely clear. Wrong. You have your gun out because you're a police officer. You're trying to intimidate me, and this is going all over.
A while later, the officer realizes he's gone too far this time.
Okay. Are you some kind of a constitutionalist,
No, sir.
crazy guy, or something like that?
Is that what you're going after? Is that where you're going? Are you throwing claims around?
An internal review team is looking into the matter. In Fort Worth, Texas, Jacqueline Craig called the police after a neighbor allegedly choked her son for littering. The officer arrives and questions why she didn't teach her son not to litter.
Why don't you teach your son not to litter?
But it doesn't matter if he did or didn't. It doesn't give him the right to put his hands on it.
Why not?
Because he don't? It don't? What you mean?
If you keep yelling at me, you're going to piss me off. I'm going to take you to jail.
The conversation becomes heated, and the officer threatens the woman, warning her not to make him angry. The situation escalates when the woman's 15-year-old daughter stands between her mother and the officer. The officer pushes the girl, pulls out his taser, and brings Jacqueline to the ground.
You're under arrest.
The cop completely loses it at this point, pushes the girl, pulls out his taser, and brings Jacqueline to the ground. It's unclear whether he used the taser or not. He then goes on to arrest her as well as her daughter and the woman filming the video for resisting arrest.
Jacqueline, her daughter, and the person filming the incident are all arrested for resisting arrest. I've never heard of someone being arrested just for resisting arrest before. The officer faces consequences as he's placed on restricted duty and later suspended for 10 days. In Keller, Texas, Dylan Puente is pulled over by Sergeant Blake Shimanek for making a wide right turn. Shimanek asks Dylan to step out of the car and handcuffs him, claiming he's acting suspiciously.
Face that direction. Why are you acting so suspicious? Well, you're rolling your window up when I'm walking up on scene for a routine traffic stop. Ain't nothing.
Dylan's father, Marco, arrives and stops his car across the street. Shimanek threatens to arrest Marco for blocking the road if he doesn't move his car. Shimanek justifies himself that he's detaining Dylan due to concerns for his safety. He then orders Marco to move his car while his son Dylan is detained. Marco complies and begins filming the arrest.
Be arrested for blocking the roadway if you don't park and get out. Park over there.
The officers attempt to take Marco down, pepper spray him, and confiscate his phone. The situation escalates, and Marco's pepper sprayed while trying to protect his phone. The officers' actions here were deemed inappropriate, and Shimanek was demoted and is no longer a sergeant. Dylan ends up paying the ticket for his wide turn, but this incident also sparks an internal affairs review. In St. Petersburg, Florida, Officer Matthew Cavender and his partner responded to a call about panhandling. They encountered Timothy Grant, a man in a wheelchair with active warrants. There's a struggle during the arrest, and Cavender tases Grant 4 times. The St. Petersburg Police Department chief finds the use of force excessive and fires Cavender for his actions. In Largo, Florida, Officer Brian Livernois uses profanity and threatens a 17-year-old boy.
Put it out.
Put it out, bro. Stop.
Well, you want to buck up on me, dude? Huh?
Just chill out, bro. Put it out. Just put it out.
You got a problem with me? You got a problem with me?
Witnesses urge the teen to calm down, but the officer grabs the boy by the neck during the arrest.
Bro, just chill, bro.
You're gonna give us more
Hey,
time.
my brother's stuck. Just chill. That's all.
You can then see the officer.
Bro, just chill, bro. Reggie, hey, don't resist. Reggie, don't resist.
Do it.
Reggie, don't resist.
Do it. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, hey, bro, what the fuck?
Bro,
Hey, get off my bro.
Yo, don't touch me.
Grab his
Get out of my face right now.
Bro, don't touch him.
Bro, don't touch him. Bro,
like
yes,
that again.
hey, come on.
Reggie! I'm gonna no. Touch him like that.
Bystanders react with anger and confront the officer. This incident prompted an investigation by the Largo Police Department, which concluded that Livernois had violated police conduct, leading to his termination. These events highlight instances of the use of excessive force, unprofessional behavior, and violations of police conduct. The officers involved face consequences for their actions, emphasizing the importance of accountability in law enforcement. Can the cops get in trouble for trespassing? Find out in the next video. Number 4. Arrogant cops get owned for trespassing. This video is from Rapid City, South Dakota, where a concerning incident involving law enforcement and a Native American woman occurs. Let's go over the details of what happened. It all started when 2 police officers stopped and issued a citation to a Native American woman named Holman. She was allegedly cited for not possessing a valid driver's license and lacking insurance.
Off our property right now. Get off. This is private property. Get the off of it.
Sir, get out of my face.
Well, then get off my property then.
Sir.
Holman was parked in the parking lot of a local business owned by the Indian Collective, a Native American organization. Upon learning about the situation, the local police chief, Don Hedrick, was informed and reportedly sent a text stating that Holman had permission to park her car in that lot. On top of that, Chief Hedrick said that the officers had no authority to remove the vehicle because the Indian Collective said that it was insured.
My name's Nick Tilson. Get off. That's public right there. Go stand up. Exactly. Get the out of here.
Tensions escalated when Nick Tilson, the president and CEO of Indian Collective, intervened himself. He confronted the officers and demanded that they leave the property immediately, emphasizing that it was private property owned by the Indian Collective. Tilson also criticized the officers and their behavior, and added a remark about their outdated sunglasses.
Don't come on here again. In fact, don't ever come on the Indian Collective property unannounced again, you It's our land.
This incident raised questions about the motives of the officers involved. Some speculate that they were unaware that the property belonged to the Indian Collective. But either way, it's worth noting that South Dakota has a history of alleged abuse and intimidation of Native Americans by law enforcement. Now, our next stop is an incident in Colleen, Texas. A constitutional rights activist named Kevin Dwayne Butler was recording a traffic stop when he noticed an officer requesting identification from the passengers.
No question about it.
Indeed, he stayed right there. Now, as far as Butler's comment to the passengers,
if you're a passenger, you don't have to identify.
Butler, well versed in the law, reminded the passengers that they could refuse identification if they weren't the driver.
Identify. Voice alone can't be deemed interference.
Agitated by Butler's presence and his comments, Officer Patterson escalated the situation. He accused Butler of interfering with his investigation and demanded his identification.
Okay, give me your ID. You've interfered with an investigation. If you refuse to give me your ID, you're going to jail. Hey, go ahead.
Get your supervisor on the scene.
I don't need a supervisor. You can see him down at the jail. You're going to jail for interference.
What's interference? Just so you saying
interfering with my investigation.
All right, he got his. All right, he got his hand.
You have no right to interfere with an investigation.
He put his hands on me. Can I put my phone in my pocket? I show you some deprivation of rights under the code of law.
No, not at all.
I have a right to record.
You do.
You can record. I don't care.
So you saying because I said something that's
yes,
interfering?
You can stay away.
Get your supervisor on the scene before you make a big mistake.
You see this? I don't need a supervisor.
Okay.
Butler maintained he had a right to record and requested a supervisor to be present, as per department policy. However, Officer Patterson refused and threatened to arrest Butler for interference.
Okay, you think
Hey, so you go into my pockets right now. I don't consent to search your seizures.
You are interfering with my investigation.
I don't consent to search. Get your super. So you turn my phone off too? I did, yes. Okay, you don't have an ID.
Legal experts have called this arrest outrageous, emphasizing that Butler's actions did not constitute interference under Texas Penal Code 38.15. According to Butler, he was exercising his right to record a traffic stop when Officer Patterson approached them and demanded identification from the passengers in the vehicle. Butler correctly informed the passengers that, as non-drivers, they were not obligated to provide identification. But Officer Patterson disputed this and claimed that Butler was interfering with his investigation. The law states that interference must consist of more than just speech. And in this case, Butler's actions were limited to recording and expressing his opinions. As a result of public outcry, the Killeen Police Department initiated an internal review. However, the officers involved were not placed on administrative leave. What happens when cops use too much force? Do civilians have the right to retaliate? Find out in the next video. Number 5. Angry cops get punked after unlawfully using force. This video shows a confrontation between an officer and a young man. The man filming asks the officer off camera to stop and tells them to back up. The man tells the officer to relax, insists on maintaining distance, and asks for the officer's name, which is Parker.
Oh, we're doing a DUI test over here in the dark.
You guys all right over there? You okay?
Stop there.
Hey, man.
Back up.
You need to relax.
Back up.
What's your name and badge number? You're talking about like a foot, right?
Yeah. Back up.
What's your name?
Parker. Back.
The man becomes agitated and warns Parker not to touch him. He continues to assert his demand for space and questions whether there's reasonable suspicion or probable cause to touch him. He says he's in a public space and he's not being detained. Then he argues that Parker's actions constitute assault and asks them to check the definition of assault.
Probable cause to touch me. Am I detained right now? No, I'm out in public.
You're interfering in my investigation.
Physical.
Right.
I didn't threaten anybody.
I told you where to
you
stop.
Don't have
you kept
tape
walking.
up.
I'm not going to argue
So
with any
what?
further.
I'm out in public. You don't get to tell people what to do in public. Reasonable, articulable suspicion. You touching me is a crime. Touching me with the intent to intimidate is assault. Read the definition of assault. Touching with the intent to
I have
intimidate.
the right to protect my seat.
A debate ensues about the authority of Parker to dictate the filming man's position in public. The young man challenges Parker to provide a law that supports his claim. He argues that interference with an investigation using violence or physical force is required to warrant detainment. He warns him of a potential lawsuit and implies that Parker's actions may lead to his arrest. As the tension rises, the young man insults Officer Parker, calling him an idiot, and asks him if he enjoys his position and mentions that the incident is being broadcast live online. He also insults Parker by using a derogatory term. At this point, Parker calls for backup. The young man argues with the officer, expressing his disagreement with the officer's actions. He mentions that walking past the officer and getting arrested without reasonable or probable cause would be unlawful. He continues to criticize the officer while using profanity and claims that they can't say he's interfering with the crime scene because that would require him using or threatening to use force. He refers to the Arizona revised statute and states that the officers should look it up to understand his point.
There's no RAS, probable cause for an arrest for you to touch me. You're fucked.
I'm not allowing you to interfere with this officer's investigation.
You keep saying interfering. That's threatening to use force or threatening to use physical violence or using physical force or violence.
Protect the scene. This is the scene.
Dude, I'm literally quoting the Arizona revised statute that you're trying to say I'm going to violate.
I'm telling you.
You don't care.
If you approach that officer,
you better look it up.
He accuses the officer of violating well-established rules regarding crime scenes and suggests that the officers have been sued before, mentioning someone named Kavanaugh. He says the officers' facial expressions are evidence of their previous legal issues.
Messing around with a crime scene is well established. You're supposed to know that, which means that if you violate something that's well established, see the faces that he's making tell me he's already been sued.
couldn't walk.
I don't know who
they is.
You've already been sued.
That's who. Kavanaugh. What are you, that fucking stupid? Kavanaugh wanted to make an 8-foot rule and it got shot down. So you're keeping us 100 feet away?
Yeah.
For your own rules? You make up your own fucking rules? Or
So we can't see or hear what's going on.
So that's filming the police.
So this is a First Amendment.
The young man observes a person, possibly a black man, and questions the officer's actions. He also notes that they can't see what's happening because one of the officers is obstructing his view with a flashlight. He brings up the legal precedent for their rights and accuses the officers of inviting trouble.
I think it's a woman.
No, it looks like a beard. I see a beard.
Oh, is it a beard?
Can't see. He's
okay,
obstructing my camera with his flashlight for no reason. Bro, there's case law for this stuff. You guys are just fucking asking for it.
Hey, Tuck. Hey, Tuck.
Tuck.
Tuck. Come over here.
Did you guys see this cop assault me right here? He's saying don't interfere with the crime scene. That's threatening to use force or physical violence or using force or physical violence. That's the only time my words or my presence can be obstructing or interfering. Moronic fuck. I didn't threaten anybody. I didn't threaten to use physical force. I didn't touch anything around here. You'd be making an unlawful arrest. You have a cell phone on you. You're not doing anything. You should look into this before you fuck up.
As the confrontation continues, the man confidently states that he will depose the officers without needing a lawyer. He asks the officer about his discomfort during past depositions and asserts their right to the freedom of speech under the First Amendment.
Haven't you? Did that make you feel uncomfortable to have to answer all those questions? Because when it happens, I'm going to ask them all. There's not going to be a lawyer. I'm going to ask them all. I'm going to depose you for hours. And your buddy over there who's not saying anything. You don't like my freedom of speech? It's part of the First Amendment. You know that paper that...
He once again accuses the officers of doing something they shouldn't be doing and mocks their uniforms. He believes the officers derive power from the authority of their uniforms, guns, and badges. He also says that without the protection of their authority, the officers wouldn't dare to confront or touch them in a public setting. Then he mentions self-defense laws in Arizona and implies that they would not hesitate to defend themselves if threatened.
Why's your partner acting like a woman? You guys doing something you shouldn't be? Huh? I'm trying to get that overtime pay. They have normal uniforms, but they feel badass coming out here in the green Ninja Turtle bullshit. You feel cool? Does it make you feel powerful to come over to another grown man and push him? You know, if you weren't wearing that shit, what would happen to you, dude? Do you know what would happen to you? Out in public, you put your hands on a grown man. You're a little guy. That's not smart. The only thing that protects you is your police uniform, your gun, your badge, your pretend authority. I promise you, you wouldn't talk to me or touch me out in public without all that authority protecting you. It's called self-defense. You better look into it. Arizona's a stand-your-ground state. I have no obligation to flee from you or anybody else.
He criticizes the officers for not properly securing the scene with crime scene tape and argues that it's not a crime scene, but an investigative detention for suspicion of DUI. Finally, the young man questions the officers' actions and raises doubts about their effectiveness and a lack of visibility due to the lights obstructing the view. He makes a derogatory comment about bootlickers and sarcastically suggests that the reused tape is a sign of inefficiency. The young man expresses his frustration and calls for additional units before addressing a sergeant who requests some time to speak later.
You fuck with one dude, you might as well have just fucked with everybody on my YouTube channel. How many of them do you think are in Arizona? How many politicians, lawyers, judges, police officers in this state do you think subscribe to my channel, dude? A lot of them. And they all just watched you act like a moron. See, I've sent the post my YouTube channel link so that... Yeah, you walked up and pushed me. You think that shit's cool? You changed the whole scenario right there. Whole scenario. This could have went completely different. You notice how I'm not saying anything disrespectful to him or anybody else here? Just you. Yeah, well, your sergeant was being a little punk, so he gets the same kind of treatment. You're paid to be respectful and look at me and smile, even if I'm fucking yelling at you. You are paid to smile. You're paid to be respectful, courteous. That's literally in your policy, dumbass. You're paid to do that. Jesus Christ. You should learn your policy. Don't be like this guy. This is internet fame right here. This means that if you get sued and you lose this job here in Tucson, you can't go anywhere and get another fucking job because I made you viral. Every department is gonna know you're a fucking piece of shit and they're not gonna wanna hire you. Why do you think we're out here doing that? This is the Brady List, but for the public. I just caught you doing a Brady List event right now on a live stream that nobody controls. Not the media, not your bosses. They can't call somebody and get it hidden away. You don't get to touch the public. That's Brady List material right there. You know what the Brady List is? You wanna be on it? You wanna be on it? You wanna be documented as a fucking criminal cop? That's what you're leaning towards. You're not all powerful. Just remember that shit. Christopher Ruff, remember that name. Direct D too. You're gonna hear it a lot more. Sketchy as fuck out here hiding in the dark. If you weren't doing anything wrong, there should be no problem with us standing there recording you. It's quite hilarious. But see, you act like a kid that just got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It's in my car. It's in the Dodge Charger we've been flashing you guys in.
I gotta roll into it.
Yeah, he does look like a little Putin, huh?
The video ends with the man questioning the officers about why they should keep their jobs. In our next video, we'll see what happens when cops stop the wrong car. Number 6. Cops owned hard after stopping the wrong car. The video starts with an officer from Phoenix PD pulling over a man. The interaction took place during a traffic stop. The first thing he does is ask if there are any weapons inside the car and mentions a light being flashed at him. The driver's response is, "I don't answer questions."
Phoenix PD. Any weapons inside the car? Any guns, knives, or anything like that?
What's that matter?
Huh?
What's that matter?
Because during the traffic stop, I can ask if there's any weapons inside the car. Failure to provide a truthful answer to that.
So this is a traffic stop? Aren't you asking for a driver's license, saying what we did wrong?
Is there any weapons inside the car?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, that being said, when I see your driver's license registration.
This turns into a serious disagreement between the officer and the driver about the reason for the traffic stop. The officer accuses the driver of speeding. The driver denies this and says that the light wasn't a good enough reason to pull him over either, because they had no control over that. The driver questions why the officer isn't asking for a driver's license and registration if he pulled him over for a traffic stop.
For a light?
Driver?
Yeah.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance, please?
So, you're lying about my speed.
Okay.
But you're pulling me over for something I don't have control over?
Why don't you call your supervisor while you're at it too?
Yeah, I can do that too.
Yeah, you're going to do it. Go
Are
ahead.
you the registered owner of the vehicle, sir?
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead and do it right now while we can see you do it, so we know you
No. All I have to do is present it to you.
Hey, whoa, what the fuck?
You can see it right there.
Hey, get your hand out of his car.
Fucking hand out of my car and you're trying to check my shit. All I have to do is present it.
Holy shit.
Let me see your driver's license.
You're live on the internet.
Okay,
You better
you can
chill
see
out.
I can't see your driver's license.
Use a flashlight.
He doesn't have to give it to you. Wow. Dude,
Fucking
hey,
asshole. What the fuck's wrong with you?
wow, dude.
Get your supervisor over here now. You fucked up.
As the argument continues, the driver claims that the officer's actions violate their Fourth Amendment rights, and that a traffic stop without a legitimate reason or criminal activity is not allowed. After that, he challenges the officer to issue a ticket and desires to go to court.
You don't have to be able to read it.
Yeah, and when it's against the window, you can.
You never did that.
Wow, these people
I was
are
trying.
fucking
If you reached
dumb.
in my car, I can if you fucking hold it. If you're not trying to steal it out of my hand.
This is excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
All you had to do was provide me.
All you had to do.
As the driver continues to confront the officer, mocking their behavior and calling them dumb, they express disappointment that the interaction has escalated up to this point and claim that the officer fabricated the speeding accusation because he was triggered by the light. The driver challenges the officer to articulate how they determined their speed and questions their honesty.
Legal reason to detain somebody. That's a Fourth Amendment issue when you stop a vehicle. If there's not a traffic infraction or a criminal activity or a crime that you saw happen, you cannot detain this vehicle. You are literally violating the Fourth Amendment right this moment by detaining this vehicle and then articulating that it's because of a light. We were not speeding and we have proof of it, so you're a liar. You are a liar. You are. Why do I need to let you talk?
He expresses his frustration with the officer's presence and questions why they're still standing there. Criticizing the officer's inability to articulate how he determined his speed, he suggests that the officer is dishonest or incompetent. They laugh and make sarcastic remarks about the officer's actions and behavior.
Determine his speed. How did you determine his speed?
He passed like 20
How did
cars.
you determine his speed? You were facing a gate when I hit you with the light. So how'd you determine his speed?
I had to come northbound. Eventually, I determined your speed.
How?
Okay.
How?
How? There's got to be
How?
mathematics involved.
How? Okay, doesn't answer my question. How? How did you determine his speed? This is what the judge is going to ask you. How did you determine his speed, officer?
So regardless if I write you ticket.
How did you determine his speed, officer?
It's gonna be my discretion.
That's what the judge is going to ask you, and I'm going to be there as his witness. So how did you determine his speed, officer?
Right, technically.
That's exactly right. You didn't.
Oh my god, dude.
You're driving past the site.
What's fucking funny is it's a bike rack. That's where it's supposed to sit.
Hey, Richard, what's a good phone number for you?
I'm not giving you my phone number.
No?
Give you the phone number. What's wrong with you?
You know what's the sad thing, Richard?
You want to know my shoe size?
Such good interactions in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know why it had to come down to this today.
Because you got triggered by this right here, this light right here, the Jesus beam.
That doesn't even bother me.
Well, then why are you over here, stupid? You were about to go into a parking lot, into a gate, and you got hit with the flashlight, and you got so triggered emotionally, you turned around and made up some bullshit about us speeding to pull us over. You articulated that before anything else, so when you get to court, all these pictures you just took of the license plate is after the fact. Now you're conspiring just to fuck with us because we were exercising our First Amendment.
A new officer, possibly a supervisor, arrives on the scene. The driver questions whether they're there to de-escalate or escalate the situation. Then he mocks the officer's attempts to lie and hopes the body camera footage will reveal the truth.
Oh.
As the driver recounts the sequence of events, he emphasizes that the officer reached into his car to grab his license, which they believe violates their Fourth Amendment rights.
Do so. I mean, when you realize you made a mistake, this is when we walk away and we don't make it worse. By us continuing to be here, you've made it worse. I've been filming for 18 minutes. That's more than enough reasonable time to write any kind of bullshit ticket he was going to write. So this is just an extension and a further detention of our detainment on our Fourth Amendment, man. This is a big deal. This is a court issue. Like, you want to make it a bigger issue? You want to write a ticket? Let's go to court. Let's go to court, because then it becomes retaliation. After you've already realized what's going on, now you're continuing to push the issue. So you should be like, yeah, you're wrong, and boogie, or write your ticket and let us go. The further... So hurry the fuck up.
So
just a second, and
part of the thing that you can request also, you can request the transmission of my radio traffic. When I told my dispatcher that I was pulling you over, I also informed her that the license plate was obscured. So if you want to see that I'm actually telling you the truth, feel free to request a copy of that, and you will see that when I initiated my code 6, I told my dispatcher that I'm going to be stopping a vehicle and that I didn't have a license plate because the license plate was obscured.
Well, tell the judge that. I mean,
I will.
Yeah.
So
just tell her right now, because this is going to be evidence.
I did.
Say, Your Honor,
6079.
I was following the law. Even though I'm a traffic enforcement officer and I'm supposed to understand traffic laws that are well established, qualified immunity. Qualified immunity, boys. We don't like it in Arizona.
Showed up my insurance. I guess it was actually logged in.
Yeah, just cooperate. Now they've already done fucked up. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't think it was actually logged in. So
they've already made the mistakes. So just cooperate.
Well, I was trying.
Let's show the.
The driver asked them to tell the judge about how they've been enforcing the law, implying that the video will be used in court. They mentioned qualified immunity and expressed their dislike for it in Arizona. He says that the entire interaction was recorded and that they were trying to cooperate, then jokes that they're willing to show their butthole as part of their cooperation.
So the one citation I am going to issue today is the improper display of the license plate. That's the only one we're going to go with today, okay?
Well, that's the only one you have any hope of sticking in court, so good choice.
So
See, we know how to play the game better than you guys now.
So, right here.
You still can't issue a ticket on an unlawful detainment, genius.
So, you're going to have
license plate,
6/13/2023 at 11 a.m., 300 West Washington. You could do one or two things there.
So in the Title 28 code, you guys, there are exemptions for bike racks and things that are normally allowed to be put on your vehicle. And it's written into the ARS, and he's supposed to already know this. But he's just being a moron and thinks that he knows what he's talking about. And he's still writing a stupid ticket because he's really stupid. And he likes sucking dick and looking at, looking at guys in the shower. He probably puts his finger in his dog's butthole and sniffs his shit.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me, sir?
No.
You have yourself a better night.
We're having a great night. You just made it for us, you stupid fuck, dude. What? Have a better night? It couldn't get any better.
Oh, shit.
Without police interactions on our channel?
The driver looks at their citation for improper display of devices and says that that might be the only charge that could potentially stick in court. The clips to this video are brought to us by Inside Edition, Law and Crime Network, Police Files, The Breakdown, and Direct D. Check out the description below for a link to their channels and give them the credit they deserve. If you liked the video, then you'll like this one too, so check it out.